What's up, everybody? It is the Best Bot Kid Smooth, and I am finally back. I know it's been a while, but I'm back finally to review the Xbox Series X and a little bit of the Series S. And it's officially been a week since we got these consoles, and just to kind of give you guys like my initial thoughts, I played a whole lot of games on it. Anything from the Falconeer to Bright Memory, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Watch Dogs, Call of Duty, all sorts of stuff I played on this game, and I am completely satisfied. So first, let me start off with the Xbox Series S, the little guy of the two. This like baby console, this thing is running laps around the Xbox One S, is also running laps around the Nintendo Switch, this is actually cost just as much as a Nintendo Switch. It has games running at anywhere from 1080p to 4K. It's obviously doing 60 and 120 frames per second. This honestly is not my primary box. I must say this is actually insurance, meaning that if the big boy decides to have like some sort of issues where I have to send it back to Microsoft, I got this to fall back on to play until we get this back. But pray to God that that's not the issue and that won't happen. So I plan to keep them both. But other than that, this is like more so what I would plan to use as my streaming box, meaning that any non-demanding game, if I have to stream a game like a little game or review like an independent game or something like that, I'll play it on here, get the full playthrough, or stream it here if I have to do like some sort of walkthrough. Any games that aren't necessarily taking super advantage of the Series X, and they'll load just as fast on the Series S. But for $300, this little guy does its job. It's quiet. It plays next generation games, albeit at 1080p, in some cases 1440p, but we are getting those 60 frames and 120 frames, and it's been very, very impressive for that to take place. Obviously, it comes with the robot white Xbox Series S controller. Looks good, feels good. I don't have no dirt or anything like this on this, because obviously I don't have a lot of mileage on the Series S or the Series S controller, but it's cool to look at, man. It's a pretty console. I definitely recommend, obviously, if the pockets are a little short, it's $300. Now, the cons to this console is that it's an advertised 512 gig SSD, but there are reserved space. And when you consider the reservation space that you can't access, you're looking at about like 360, I think, gigs left, which means Call of Duty, 2K, and maybe Fortnite will take up the rest of that. So if you do consider expanding your memory, this kind of equals the price of a Series X. At that point, you might as well just get a Series X. So it's not for everyone. The hardcore shouldn't buy this system, but a kid who just plays Fortnite or a kid who just plays 2K and Madden, sure, absolutely. And then this thing is backwards compatible. So if someone was upgrading from an Xbox One S to an Xbox Series S and had their games stored on a hard drive, you could run a lot of those games off your hard drive, off that external hard drive. And then, of course, the optimized games you would want to install on the Series S or on this bad boy here. But that's all I really got to say for the Xbox Series S. It's an impressive little system for the size and for the price. $300 is punching above its weight. Like I said, it runs laps around what the Nintendo Switch could be able to do for the same price. And it's a cute console. I appreciate it. Now, obviously, what we really came here for is the Xbox Series X. This big, black, rectangle, monolithic, simplistic design. Trying not to get any spit on it and trying not to get any handprints on it, which I did. But I'm still in love with the form factor, man. This miniature PC, like the green tent at the top. It's doing so minimal, but it just sits there. It's attractive on my desk. It's attractive on the desk. It's attractive under the TV. It's just a cool black box. It's heavy, it's sturdy, very, very durable. And I've been playing, that's where most of my gaming has been taking place. I've tested the Xbox Series X out on, obviously, the LG CX, which is the best place to use it. I've also used it on my monitor for certain instances to capture, obviously some gameplay and whatnot. But I've been enjoying it. And this has been a busy week. with the Xbox Series X and Series S and the PS5 launching, but believe it or not, majority of my game time that took place this week has taken place on the Xbox Series X. I don't know what it is. Just to kind of give you guys like some of the things I've been playing. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War looks great on this game. We got a little bit of ray tracing in there. We got 4K, we got 60 frames per second, pretty much locked. 120 frames option, which I actually haven't tried because honestly, I think it runs at a low resolution. I'm okay with 4K 60, honestly. But I will give it a try. One of the things that people talk about when it comes to the Xbox console, a lot of people talk about the UI, and it doesn't feel next gen because the UI hasn't changed. But just to kind of give you guys a heads up, the UI on the Xbox Series X is actually about maybe 5 weeks old. It's actually a brand new UI. Sure, the Xbox One X uses the same UI. The Series X makes it a little bit better because it's faster, it's snappier, it's very responsive. You get dynamic themes this time around because you're on the Xbox Series X. But it's a brand new UI. It's not the same UI that launched on like the Xbox One. It works. It's easy to use. You're not gonna have trouble finding anything. And it's one of my favorite UIs. But the thing about Xbox, we know chances are the UI is going to change in another year. They're going to find a way to make it better, like they've been doing all throughout the Xbox One generation. The other thing people comment about is the controller. You look at the controller and you say, man, it's not really different from the Xbox One controller. But in actuality, it doesn't look that much different. But when you get it in your hands, it feels a lot different. Whether it be the grips taking a place in the back of the controller, the textured grip on the triggers, the textured grip on the bumpers, it feels different. It feels good. It's like, it doesn't feel like it's going to slip from my hands. It's just like this natural fit. The controller is slightly smaller. The D-pad is different. Obviously, they changed the D-pad. It's louder. D-pad is louder, but I like it better than the Xbox One's D-pad. The share button's the new functionality. Of course, the Switch and PlayStation has had it before, but now sharing games on the Xbox Series X is a lot better. Now, this controller is also compatible with the Xbox One, and it's compatible with xCloud. It's compatible with the PC. The only thing about the Xbox and this functionality is that sharing games is a lot easier. However, the sharing functionality on the Xbox Series X and S is a bit different because sharing screenshots is no problem. However, capturing gameplay at the time of this video, because they are working on a fix, the video quality is not good because the video is coming out too dark, and a lot of us haven't been able to share the gameplay we like to share with you guys on Twitter and whatnot straight from the Xbox because the image is not coming out as well as it could. And once they fix that, trust me, we will be doing a video and sharing more gameplay. But as far as the controller, man, it's Xbox once again. We're with the Xbox. I feel like their controller has always been a world-class industry standard, and they found they say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They found a way to fix something that isn't broken. And now that I've been playing with this controller, I can't go back to the Xbox One controller. Hell, I can't even go back to the Elite controller. This is definitely a fine controller, and I can tell you guys right now, if you play games like Sekiro, Dark Souls, Fighters, you're actually gonna have fun with this controller. The things that they changed with this controller is that low latency. It's very responsive in games that are that you find that you have to parry or block or something like that. Very responsive. I went back and played a little bit of parts of Sekiro, Jedi Fallen Order as well, and I found that my parrying is a lot better. Obviously, the games are running at 60 frames, so it's a lot smoother, but the controller is more responsive. There's no lag that exists, and this controller is top notch. Sure, it's not as revolutionary as what PlayStation is doing with all the haptics and everything going on, making you feel like you're in the game, but what it did is it was a nice upgrade to something that was already amazing, and I gotta give Xbox props for the Xbox Series X controller. Now, I talked a lot about the console. Console looks good. I think it's a sexy beast, bro. But the games, one of the things that Xbox is getting flack for is the lack of first-party content. Sure, what did they launch with? Gears Tactic, which was a PC port, a game that was previously exclusive to the PC, now available for the Xbox Series X, running at 4K 60, HDR, all that other stuff. We also got Bright, which is Bright Memory 1.0, which is a Honestly, it's a glorified demo. It's an $8 demo that comes with achievements, and that's legit a PC port. Not the best representation of your Xbox Series console, but the game does kind of give you a glimpse of what type of concepts and what you could potentially expect from Bright Memory Infinite when it releases in 2021. Assassin's Creed has been my favorite game to play on the Xbox Series X. It's running at 4K 60 frames dynamically. The game looks good. The game plays great. I can't stop playing it. It's definitely runner-up to my game of the year. Can't wait to finish it, and let's see how it turns out at the end of the year when all these games are done. I've also played a lot of Call of Duty Black Ops. The game looks amazing. Watch Dogs Legion, ray tracing. It sucks that it is at 30 frames per second, but we do know for sure that the Xbox Series X can handle ray tracing. I also played a lot of NBA 2K21. That did present issues on my Xbox Series X because the NBA 2K21 did shut down my console twice, and I haven't played NBA 2K21 ever since that occurred, and I'm afraid to. However, I did continue my gameplay on NBA 2K21 on the Xbox Series S, and I did not have an issue there. I'm not it's early console situations could happen. For the most part, my experience with the Xbox Series X has been smooth. Outside of the NBA 2K21 shutting down my console, which is the only game that shut down my console, Assassin's Creed for the first time yesterday had froze on me, and it didn't freeze my console. The game itself kept freezing, and I was able to use a dashboard and stuff, but for how I tried to escape the game's freezing, it was more so instead of just turning the console off, I just went to another game. I had another game in quick resume, which was Star Wars, and I would keep going back to Assassin's Creed until the game kind of forced dashboarded, and after that, it made a screaming like noise, not a screaming noise, but if you are familiar with the Xbox One consoles and never had your console do a dashboard crash, it makes like this sound, and then it brings you to the dashboard. That happened when I was playing Assassin's Creed yesterday for the first time after the 16 hours that I put into it. And after that happened, it didn't crash again, and the game's been fine. So who knows? It could be an isolated game incident, or it could be a console thing. I'm not sure, but those are the issues I did have. So it's not perfect. Other issues I'm having with the Xbox Series X, it's a known issue, is one of the highly touted features, Quick Resume. Quick Resume is not 100%. It's very inconsistent. Sure, it works great on Xbox 360 games, Xbox One games, but when it comes to Xbox Series X optimized games, it's very inconsistent. And I would say maybe 50% of the games use it. Assassin's Creed took advantage of it. Watch Dogs didn't. Dirt 5 sometimes take advantage of it. Forza Horizon 4 doesn't. It very all depends. So because it's a feature was looking forward to, and I play multiple games at a time, as you will see throughout this video, I'm posting up different gameplays from different games. I switch games a lot, so Quick Resume actually is beneficial to me. And if it's not working as advertised, it does obviously come to the point as a downer on the console. Now, other than that, without Quick Resume, the games do load up pretty quick. Like, you can get into a game within seconds after booting it. So the good thing is, sure, if Quick Resume doesn't work on all games, you can get into these games fairly quick, and that's why it hasn't been that big of a deal for me. But they got to get on top of that. They got to make sure they get this thing working on 100% of all the games, and find a way to notify to let the consumer know which game is actually suspended in Quick Resume without us having to go to check it. Maybe an icon can appear, maybe some sort of highlight can come up on the particular games that are currently in Quick Resume, because otherwise it's more of a guessing game from your most recent play. In terms of like my overall, verdict on the Xbox console, man, I think it's an incredible piece of work. It's quiet. It doesn't get hot at all. I love the little expansion SSD. This actually, it's expensive. I recommend having it, especially if you are, an enthusiast and you're working with both consoles. I definitely recommend you get this so you can go from here. Because right now, I don't have not a single game installed on my Xbox Series S. I have the games installed here, so I can just pull from the X, plug it to the S, and I'm good. It works like a memory card. It's high quality, got some weight to it. And like I said, get it. why not if you can afford it? Otherwise, just to kind of give you a heads up with these next gen consoles, Xbox Series S does not give you, like I said earlier, it doesn't give you a whole lot of space to work with. The Xbox Series X of all next gen consoles give you the most space out of the box. It's a 1 terabyte SSD, and after you consider reserve space, you get 802 gigs available to store games on. That's actually more than what you got from your Xbox One X 1 terabyte, and more than what you get, I believe, from your Xbox One 1 terabyte. So that's more than a PlayStation 5. It's total space is 825, and after reservation space is like 664. So the Series X is kind of really the whole package. I love the design. I love the controller. I love that it's quiet. The functionality of the console, the issues are very, very minimal, and the games run awesome. You know, like I said, we have multiple games showcasing 120 frames per second, multiple games showing ray tracing, and we got games like Dirt 5, which takes advantage of a multitude of things, and I definitely recommend people to play. I remember the game came out, had an early showing in like June or July or so, and people weren't really feeling it. They kind of threw a lot of shade at it. Play the game now and you'll be very, very impressed. And I recommend the image quality mode. I'm going to be reviewing multiple games, or at least posting gameplay of multiple games that I've done on the Xbox Series X and on the Xbox Series S. I might do some live streams just to get more coverage out of it. But I really wanted to put out this video to kind of let you guys know what my thoughts are on the Xbox Series X. It's been a while. I had the console for a week. I've been enjoying it, and believe it or not, when you consider the Xbox Series S, the Xbox Series X, and the PlayStation 5, we've had them for a week, and be surprised, with no first-party exclusive, I played this more than any console right now, and I'm just enjoying it. I don't know what really I can say. I'm an Xbox guy, so majority of the games that come out, I'm going to be playing on this thing, and I'm just happy that so far, I've just been having a hell of an experience, whether it be with the new games that just released this week, or the games that released earlier this year, or the games that released last year, and games that released years ago. Some games, some older games I recommend you check out, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which if you play at the 1080p mode, which is 60 frames per second, it's a lock 60 here, it actually shows up well on a 4K TV. I thought I was going to be less impressed by the visuals, but no, my wife saw it and she was like, oh my God, this looks awesome. And I was playing at the 1080p mode. So the best looking game so far, honestly, that I'd say would be by default is NBA 2K21. However, I'm afraid to play it again because of it turned my Xbox off. I'm waiting for a patch, but that game looks spectacular. Some of the other games I feel that are underrated are games like Dirt 5 and the other, obviously Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Like I said, it's runner up to Game of the Year. But if I had to give this score on this console, the score would be an 8.5 out of 10. It loses points because of things like quick resume, because of things like the first party launch lineup isn't the greatest. And then obviously there's some tinkering that needs to be done. But when it's working and you're playing it and you're playing games on it, it's near flawless, and I'm enjoying it. I can't wait for more. They got to fix the capture, fix the quick resume, and you have a perfect console. But right now, Xbox Series X, man, it is one hell of a box, and I'm enjoying it. It's definitely my primary console for the foreseeable future. As always, guys, hope you enjoyed this review. Xbox is the best box, and I am the best bot. Good night or good morning if you're on the other side of the globe.